Hi, I'm Warwick from Harder and Steenbeck, and I've got the great pleasure of sitting down today with Rob Dickons from Dread Effects Custom Paint and Andy Wardle from Cult of Paint. And I'm going to put the new Evolution 2024 CRplus in front of them for the first time. And we're just going to kind of film their reaction, and they're going to put some paint in it and see what they think of this new airbrush from Harder and Steenbeck. So, Rob, one for you.
Thank you very much.
And Andy, one for you.
Give me the stuff.
That's it. So they're unpackaged right now, so that's why we got this blank sleeve on them. That's shortly arriving with us.
I even don't dip the right way up.
Go ahead.
Oh.
So first impressions, guys. What do you think of the aesthetic? And
This knurling is the first thing I notice.
yeah,
It's nicer machining. Nice. That's totally different.
yeah.
Nicer machining here. Oh, you got the gap like the Infinity
That's it. We do.
on the Evo.
So Rob, the first thing we got to ask you, man. You know what it is, right?
Trigger.
That's it.
The trigger feel on that is like silk. And it
Yeah, it is.
really is. And I love the triple chrome on it.
Yeah.
It just a lot easier to clean up these are.
Yeah, I know. I think it's the nickel plate. It's an aesthetic that some people like, but the problem with nickel is there is a small number of people do have an allergy to it, and so we just thought we need to get out of that. So everything that we're doing now is in triple chrome. That knob on the end there, that's a triple start thread. So now from fully in to fully out, it's just over a turn.
Yeah, I remember the
so
old
it actually
Evolution.
makes it usable.
I've got the old one, which has got the same design as that, but
Yeah.
you just...
Yeah, it takes forever to get it
Yeah.
in and out, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice.
I'm taking it apart.
Go for it.
Whoa, that's new.
Yeah, so you've got this little
That's
system
changed.
here on the front. Yeah, it is. It's totally different. So the lock, so that this doesn't spin when you tighten up the needle, that is now between this and the X center,
that
which
way.
means that, that barrel now, we've been able to increase the length of that bearing so that it doesn't rock at all. It's super steady. And then we put these things in it that we call rifling, so that you can put a little bit of lubricant in these, and it just keeps the airbrush feeling silky smooth all the time.
So that cutting, you put lubricant in that.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And there's a little, if you look on the trigger too, see that little teardrop on the stem?
Yeah.
That's what that's for as well. Same thing. It's like a little lubricant reservoir to keep the trigger feeling
Oh, wow.
perfect all the time.
That's what
I like about these. It's the
Yeah.
ease of just putting the trigger.
Well, that was one of the things, you see, on the old one. The old ones are always great. You could reassemble them in a snap. But the X-center rotating around the trigger was one thing that we thought it's kind of can be a frustration. So these new ones, it doesn't. It's always in the right position to put it straight into the
It just
airbrush.
feels a lot stronger around there.
Has that got more travel in it than before? Like more?
Yeah, actually a lot. So
Yeah, it's totally different.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you look on the X-center, Andy, on the trigger,
Yeah.
you see these two little extra shapes that we've milled into it. These these two little shapes right here
Yeah.
on the side. So what that does is it enables it to go all the way to the back of the slot, so it doesn't get stopped by the curve at the end of the slot. And then
So
also
it
the
fits in
shape,
there, right?
the shape on the back of the X-center gets quite aggressive at the back, so that it really opens the trigger a lot at the very back. And the idea behind it is there's a whole extra 1/2 mil of trigger travel on the end of this Evolution compared to the old one. So when you are when you're coming to clean and so on, the speed that it drops everything out the cup is just absolutely massive. Let me show you something with that. So with this here,
Yeah.
the point of this design is the tape is inside here. If you take the needle out
Yeah,
again,
hold it so it's in focus.
yeah, if you take the needle out again out of the airbrush,
Oh, so you
put that on first, and then so go up to the stop and then back it off with a touch. What you'll find is that it almost doesn't matter what angle you put that in. So yeah, that angle it'll not work, but whatever angle you put that in, it self-guides in and you can't touch the tip on anything. So that's the idea behind that design. So again, it's just another thing to make the day-to-day living with the brush a little bit easier.
Yeah, it feels amazing. Is the trigger bigger?
Yeah, yeah. So we put a bigger button on that. We did a lot of testing of what would make a nice trigger in terms of a trigger top. And the general feedback was that a bigger trigger top accommodates more people. So people with smaller fingers, they don't find it a problem at all. People with larger fingers, they want to go on the side of the trigger, on the front of the trigger, on the back of the trigger. There's just a lot more area where you can find the place that you want to be on the trigger. So I'm interested for both of you really, because both of you actually paint a little bit to the side.
Probably like that. It's great. Is it higher?
No.
Same?
No, it's not. Actually, it's about a 0.5 mil, so this thickness is a little bit more here. But we actually think that going too high, it gets in the way of having a really direct feel. So we don't want to go too high with that.
Nice and low.
And you can still fit the micro cups to these, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What'd you get in the box? Yeah,
so this one's set up on the 0.28 right now.
Yeah, 0.28. Cool.
Yeah, and then the other one is a 0.45 now, so it's slightly bigger.
Super cool. Yeah, I really want to try the 0.28 because 0.2, I think it's a little bit too small.
Yeah. Well, this will actually go finer than the 0.2 by quite a lot. But obviously, when you get really on the trigger, it can still be pretty fast. So it's a really, really good general purpose head, but it has the detail of better than a 0.2.
That's my favourite part, the new machining here.
Yeah, we were thinking a lot about that. We want obviously to have grip. We didn't want to have the O-rings that the old Evolution had.
Yes.
And so what we've done with that is we thought we'd kind of bring in like a race car wheel nut kind of design language. So it's like a splined surface. But it's quite a complex shape. So we cut into that, but it's got a slight radius on it there, which just makes it feel painful, really nice. Yeah, exactly.
It's grippy, but you move your fingers over it, and it's super comfortable at every point. So when you're resting on it, I would rest my thumb on it.
Yeah.
And it's not uncomfortable at all. It's got that smooth end.
And the other little change that we made, it's a very small one, but the cutaway, so the cutaway in the handle is if you want to pull that needle right back and just dump everything out of the airbrush, you can grab the needle chuck and pull it right back directly with the window. And now some people like that window to be left-right, and some people like it top and bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, right, like this.
Yeah. So the thing with the old ones was the pitch on the thread that screws the handle on was quite a coarse pitch. So if you put it on a top bottom, you'd have a little bit of a gap between the end piece and the middle piece.
Yeah.
So we've changed that thread pitch to something much finer. So now you can really position it any way you want, and you're never going to see a gap there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you could have it on the side.
Yeah.
Fingers against it. No
Exactly. Some people don't like the feeling of rubbing against the cutaway. Yeah.
I don't notice.
I think you boys should get some paint in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I use it now?
Some painting.
Doodle-doo. Here we go. New brush. Who dis?
What do you think? So you were surprised by the Ultra on the 0.45, and this is our next step.
Oh, that trigger is absolutely.
Way more responsive straight away.
Instantly.
Yeah.
So you might just literally just down, and that's very minimal. You're hardly moving your finger back, and it's just.
Yeah. So the thinking behind it is that the more joints you have to move to get it to start, the less precise it becomes in terms of your control over it. So if you can have a single joint movement on that trigger, then you get more and more control. So That's what we're trying to do with that, is just to have it pick up at the very, very front.
I've always liked the atomization of H&S brushes. It's just so soft.
Yeah.
They really are soft.
It's good.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the beginning part when you pull the trigger. It behaves more how you expect it to. So instead of getting used to how it works, it feels, how you expect it. Because I find whenever I got into airbrushing, you think it's going to react a certain way, and actually it doesn't, and you actually get used to the quirks and behavior of it.
Yeah.
But this is like how you kind of would want it to work.
Just the same every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Let's do a spaceman. See if I can do the eyes of a space marine.
Yeah, that trigger's absolutely on point. Can't fault that.
Can do eyes.
Can't fault that one bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's clear that out. Let's paint this man blue. See what we can do. Yeah, the real difference is the control at the beginning.
Yes.
When you pull that trigger.
Yeah.
And
it's
the
just
first
so
reaction.
soft.
Yeah. We've dropped the spring rate down a little bit there as well.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect.
But the first point at which the paint comes out is the most important, because after that you know where it is. But when you're about to paint something that's really important, you want that first bit of paint that goes down how you want.
Yeah.
And if you can't quite predict that, then that's where it becomes difficult. But this just works kind of how you want it.
That's right.
Steve?
The dots.
Yeah, that's ridiculously down on dots.
I think the difference is subtle, but if you've painted for a long time or you have high expectations, then it does kind of what you want it to do.
I mean, this pressure could go down with this brush.
Yeah.
This is illustration, and it's just...
Yeah, I mean, you can run... I think these are in terms of atomization, if you've got the paint prepared well, they're very, very reliable down to sort of 10s and 12s. And then below that, they still pick up. So, if you want to use them for very, very fine stippling and texturing, the pickup is there, all the way down to well under 10.
That trigger's so comfortable. I sit with this, for me to get and feel that, to get that tiny, tiny dot, I sit here.
Yeah.
And just sort of...
Yeah.
Pulse it.
Yeah, and just literally it's that movement there. I'm already moving, that's it.
It's more that you're just pushing it down a bit.
And it's just releasing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And that's one of the things actually that's interesting about the bigger. And so this thing about like how do you make everything better on the front? I mean, there's so many things that go into that. There is a lot of work on the trigger. But one of the other things, for example, is we've done a lot of work in looking through all of the air paths from the air valve to the front and just taking out any choke points, so that the quality of air that's getting there is just much, much more. You want to have like an air tank in the back part of the air cap that's fed really solidly. Yeah. And so that we've really focused on making sure that everything upstream of the air cap gets bigger and bigger and bigger all the way to the air valve. And so part of that response is when you sort of come onto the trigger, air is quite a sluggish medium. And so if you're coming on and off it like Andy is, that starts to be a problem because it doesn't catch up with the pulse that you're doing on the trigger. If you've got a big reservoir of air that sits behind the air cap, then it really helps with that. So that trigger response is partially delivered by aerodynamic changes inside the body of the brush. But what you were talking about, that feeling of just being able to almost like you're just pushing down a bit more, that's a function of partially of that bigger trigger top. Because when you push down a little bit more on the rear of the trigger top, it's got a bit more leverage to start the needle moving back, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like you're sort of rocking on the trigger top rather than actually pulling the lever. And it just gives you that much more subtle control. So it's like you're pushing down and you just change where you're pushing down a bit and then you get that.
I'm right on the corner.
Oh, really?
Like
So you, okay, yeah.
tiny, tiny little dagger strokes, like.
Minuscule.
Oh, minuscule, yeah. It just does it with ease. God.
Just doing the easy stuff so I can maybe
Yeah.
see how good we can do some highlights.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get it a dark color and try and do some challenging stuff. Yeah, it just behaves.
But you can really direct it, can't you? It's super reliable for that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem is when you're doing, like, you've done loads of work and you just want a little really precise bit, and if it goes wrong, that's a disaster, because if it missprays and gets on some of your work, you just don't want that to happen. It's not worth the risk sometimes, but this feels like you could use it risk-free, you know?
And even, Andy, like even more, if you drop your pressure down to about half of what you're using now, the pickup is still super, super reliable. And so what you can do then is when you're trying to drop down like that final highlight, it'll take 2 seconds to build instead of taking half a second to build. So your sort of the number of decision points that you've got as to when you switch that off is you've got so much more control over it.
Right, my man is blue now.
That does empty quick as well.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a
really
big
quick.
area.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
really
lot
drops it
faster.
out, doesn't it? And you know the funny thing I've noticed as well is that, and I'm just sort of thinking out loud on this one. I'm not sure if it's actually a thing, but when you have that extra trigger travel and that extra speed of cleaner running through the airbrush, I think it cleans the nozzle better because the flow is so much faster when you're on a full trigger.
Yeah, you're just not
So
sitting there. Right?
again, sort of similarly to the Ultra, you can have a long painting session with this thing, drop the cleaner in, flow it through, and then you suddenly find actually there's not really anything left to do after that. There's no more cleaning needed.
See, this is like when you've got like bits around it, you don't want to mess it up, right? But it's nice.
Okay, so we've been painting for a little while now, so now I'm just going to go to the guys and ask them what they think. So, Rob, what strikes you most about the new Evolution 2024?
As I own the older version, I instantly noticed the trigger.
Yeah.
It's wider, more comfortable. It's more precise. It's definitely on point when you pull it back. You can get minimal paint out of this brush so easy. At low pressure, running, I've tried Createx in that and it ran really, really nice. I've tried Golden High Flow acrylics and it just performed straight out the bottle. So yeah, very, very comfortable brush.
Yeah, thank you.
It really, really is.
What do you think, Andy? What's the thing that struck you first about it?
I think the most important thing when you're using an airbrush is, you want the first bit of paint to come out to be predictable.
Yeah.
So you've put loads of work into a project and you're about to put a final highlight on. You don't want it to go bleh.
Yeah.
Or you also don't want it to be pull, and then too much paint.
Right, exactly.
But it's more sensitive, which sounds daunting. Maybe like, I'm a new painter. But actually, that sensitivity means it just behaves way more how you'd expect it to.
Yeah.
So you think, right, I'm going to pull it back, paint comes out, and it does. So I prefer that sensitivity in the first few millimeters of pulling that trigger back.
Yeah.
It's a nicer feeling. It feels like it reacts to you more.
We did a lot of A/B testing on this point with people, so not telling them what the differences were. And this was one of the things there's two elements to this. One was a general total overhaul on how the trigger responds on our airbrushes, and we had a little bit of slack to eliminate from the action, which I think we've now comprehensively done. But the other side to it is the X center really is, it functions like a cam. So we can really control the character of the relationship of the trigger to how the needle moves. So we can have a softer open or a more responsive open. And the counterintuitive thing about it is what we found literally absolutely across the board is that people felt more in control of the airbrush when they had a slightly faster response at the front. And it's because I think what it is especially when you start using thicker paint, you get a more consistent opening right at the front. When you're using, like, for example, food coloring, everything feels the same at the front because it's so easy to flow.
Yeah.
But when you got a paint that needs a little bit of impetus to get it to move, to have that slightly more responsive trigger, the net effect of it is it becomes not more sensitive, but much more predictable.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, it's really great to hear that you've sort of experienced that as well.
Well, obviously it's a second, but in your head, you're waiting for it to come, and then you're like, now it's coming. But
Yeah.
this one is...
It's a moment filled with fear, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but you need that predictability, and you need it to feel how you expect it to feel.
Yeah.
And instead of like getting used to the brush over time, I feel like, in my head, an airbrush is going to feel like that. It feels more like that, rather than why is nothing happening? Oh, and then something's happening. So that little bit is maybe subtle if you haven't airbrushed a lot, but I've used the evolution for years.
Yeah.
I've done that thousands of times.
Yeah.
And that little difference is really important when you're trying to do something that you can't mess up.
Yeah.
You've got to nail it. And that predictability and that sensitivity is much nicer. Feels like a big upgrade. And all the hardware feels nicer. It feels like the machining is higher quality, just the feel of it.
Yeah.
And that translates across into how the paint comes out. Without getting too into detail, you know these things, but it feels like, there must be better tolerances. This feels like a higher quality product because each individual part feels machined nicer, and you can just tell looking at the knurling on the side piece. So yeah, just if it looks like an upgrade, it's very tangible how it feels better, and then when you actually paint, the way it reacts and behaves also feels like a big upgrade. And the Evolution I bought with my own money years ago, and I loved it. It was a great brush and just so easy to clean and take apart, which is why I loved it in the first place. And now it's a more sensitive bit of kit. And I just think if you're a beginner using an airbrush for the first time, it's going to be nicer because it's going to behave in a way that you think it's going to in your head. But also if you've done it for years like me, it's just going to react well. So I think it's better for new people and experienced, really.
Yeah, I think so. Rob, where would you've got one of the biggest airbrush stables of anybody that I know. Where would you see this fitting into the work that you do?
Coming from the Ultra, the new 2024 Ultra, I think you're making the right step if you're looking for the next brush, is to move on to this one. Because the Ultra is teaching you, as a beginner, with the feedback in the spring and in the trigger. So you're learning that movement. And then when you jump onto this is like that soft quilted pillow where you just press and it's just comfortable. And you've got your movement down with the Ultra. You get onto this and you're just away. And as you say, it speeds you up. It's a fast brush.
Yeah.
It's a very fast brush.
And that's on the 0.28 too.
Yeah. I mean, that was running low pressure, what I was doing here, and it was just flowing quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be amazing to paint a portrait with because it's comfortable. The trigger's nice, it flows nice. You press down, if you want that tiny little pinpoint, say in the pupil of an eye, you can just hit it every time. Yeah. They're just brilliant workhorses. H&S's are just great workhorses, they really are.
We've tried to stay really true to that character, but bring in, all of the investment that we've put into the company over the last 6 years, I suppose. We've got some much higher level machining processes available to us now. We've tried to kind of exploit all of those to bring out these new ones. Yeah,
it's just quality, isn't it?
But I'm obsessed with machine parts on bikes, cars, and I get really into anything that's been, CNC'd well, and even how it's anodized. And it's that same feeling for me as like a premium you know,
I mean,
machined parts.
That's a Campagnolo wheel hub, by the way. That is this aesthetic is off a Campagnolo wheel hub.
Ah, Campagnolo, yeah, cool.
It's like, what other brushes do you know where you would get that quality of finish? You get a marker that tells you what needle you've got in it.
Yeah.
The ease to strip down, there isn't.
It just feels more
there.
premium, though, doesn't it?
There just isn't any other brush brands out there that are doing what these guys are doing.
It feels more like a more handmade boutique, right? Rather than something that's, just been churned out. And it's all the little things like how the trigger's machined now.
Yeah.
I've always said about these as well. They're the best ones out there.
Well, the quick release.
Oh, without a doubt. You clip it in and it's solid.
Yeah.
You get the other. They're just cheap and nasty.
This, by the way, Andy, this will interest you. The trigger now, that's all. And this is really interesting. I just want to show this to you because I think when you talk about machining processes, where we are now compared to where we were, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, let's say. What's kind of interesting is this trigger. So if you imagine that, well, I'll just remove the X-center actually. So that piece there, if you just have a look and get your head around that, that is machined in one piece.
Yep.
That's one piece.
Instead of before,
out of a piece of solid
together.
bar, yeah.
Because
we do that in one operation
get a bit
now.
of spin, yeah.
And that's the ultra trigger is even more complex than that, and that's sort of I think a good illustration of, what we're able to extract from a single piece of bar now.
Yeah. I love all that stuff. I get obsessed with just the aesthetic of how parts are machined.
Yeah.
Super into.
You should come and visit us again, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the X-center now, it's a clip-on. So it just pops on from the back here. It's just a clip-on. And what's kind of nice is, because it doesn't rotate now, getting back to this ease of stripping and so on, you can't miss because it doesn't rotate. You just drop it in and it's going to go in right every time. So just to cap this video off, guys, I'd like to thank Rob and Andy for coming down once again. It's been a real pleasure talking to you about this new airbrush of ours here today. And thanks for watching. And if you like the channel, do give us a subscribe. If you've got any questions about this new airbrush, please put it in the comments. We promise we will answer every single question that you give us. And we really hope to see you on the next one. Thanks so much.